Hello and welcome to Inside KATSINA on Trust TV. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Now, when we talk of societal development, a lot of things come to mind, from economic empowerment to the provision of basic needs of the people and even human capital development. But one thing always stands out, and that is the guarantee of affordable, qualitative education. The government of Katsina State, under the leadership of His Excellency Governor Aminu Bello Masari, has identified the need to have a well-educated populace and thus set about making substantial investments in the sector by inaugurating new policies and programs and also strengthening existing agencies to reposition themselves to ensure the people of Katsina gain the benefits of having access to qualitative and affordable education. One of such agencies is the Katsina State Scholarship Board. On this episode of Inside Katsina, we sit down with Isa Ahmed, the Director General of the Katsina State Scholarship Board, and he takes us through how the board is going about contributing to the overall well-being of the people of Katsina State through ensuring the students get the necessary financial support in their pursuit of academic excellence. Let's take a look.
Well, I think before I say my name, I would like to congratulate the Trust TV for coming on board. You have really changed the configuration of news dissemination in the country. Back to your question, my name is Isa Ahmed. I am an indigenous of Katsina State, of course, born in 1957 at Kopasoro quarters. Started my primary education at Kopasori Primary School. After a sojourn of 6-7 years, I think, I went to GSS Zaria, government, then Al Hudda College. After about 2 years, during one assessment interview they call aptitude test, I was transferred to Katsina Teachers College, where I completed my 3-year program to enable me obtain teacher grade 2 certificate. That was in 1977. In 1978, I went to Bayero University, where I started my 6-year pre-degree program. Sorry, 6th term, they call it pre-degree. After about 2 years, in 1983, I graduated BSc Geography. I was deployed to Ondo State for my National Youth Service. In 1984, after the service, I was recruited by the then Kaduna State government to teach at Government Girls Secondary School, Kopasori. I taught for about 3-4 years. In the year 1990, I think, I transferred my services to the federal government of Nigeria, where I served with the National Provident Fund then. I was posted to Sokoto in 1991. I was there. 1992, I was transferred to Niger State, the zonal office. I stayed there for about 6 years. For about 6 months. Then transferred to Kaduna State office of the National Provident Fund. Then it was transferred. The nomenclature and the name of the office changed from National Provident Fund to Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund. That is where I think got my niche as a public servant. I worked there for about 19 years, retiring as an assistant general manager. Now, I was during the Obasanjo regime in 2004. He introduced the pension regime. So technically, my office was closed down as a result of that, new creation. Essentially, my office was in charge of providing pension and gratuity to private sector of the government. Now, the Pension Reform Act of 2004, took care of both the private and the public sector. So my office was technically, closed down. Now, my office, before it was closed down, it created a trust fund a pension fund administrator known as Trust Fund Pension. Now I was chosen to be the Northeast Regional Manager. I was in charge of Northeast, Bauchi, Gombe, Maiduguri, Borno, Taraba, and Adamawa states. I worked there for about 2 years before the break of the Boko Haram, insurgents. I retired, or I relinquished my appointment because I couldn't, go with that. So I came back to Kaduna, my base, in 2008. In 2009, I joined politics. The what do you call it? The Buhari regime party, Congress for CPC. Now we were there for about 2-3 years, trying to figure it out with some of our colleagues who share similar, mind. During the APC administration, I was the Secretary General of the Restoration Project of the Masari administration. From 2014, I shouldered the responsibility of steering the Secretariat of the Restoration Project up till the time when it was, or the government was instituted. Now, I served in so many committees, in 2016, I was given this office to manage by His Excellency Governor Abu Bello Masari. Now, when I assumed duties here as the Director General, they call it then, Katsina State Scholarship Trust Fund, I told myself that, in fact, even before then, our colleagues at the Restoration Project, we made it a duty that we are going to help Aminu Bello Masari to succeed in whatever capacity we find ourselves. So that thinking, was transformed when I came into Scholarship Trust Fund. I told myself that I will leave this place better than I met it. That is a promise I made myself. And I think by now, when I look back, 2016, I can only say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen for making it possible for me to realize what I and my other colleagues, took upon us to do for Aminu Bello Masari. When I came here, there was money. Of course, there was money. The trust fund was still in existence. There was about more than 500 million in the office. That money is nothing when you compare to the scholarship given to the students. 500,000 is just amount being paid to 42,000 students for one session, for one academic session. So it's nothing. But now, because of that money, we find it we were able to pay students as when due. That is the only thing, that the only advantage we had then. We paid students as at when due because the money is with us. We can easily pay without, sending memo to the government to give us that money. Now, what actually happened during I'll give you a brief, story of the trust fund. The late governor, Alhaji Umar Musa Yar'Adua, may his soul rest in perfect peace, introduced this Katsina State Scholarship Trust Fund with about 1.5 billion naira. This money it was sourced from the local government, contribution from the local government and the state government. Now, during the meltdown of the 2000, more than 65% of that money got burnt. It got burnt. Before then, the Scholarship Trust Fund was responsible for the payment of of scholarship to the students. It was responsible for the payment of salaries. It was responsible for the payment of, office upkeep and whatever things you can think about without resorting to the government. In fact, the government has no knowledge of what happens, at the scholarship, as the scholarship trust fund until audit report is taken to them. In other words, they do not require anything from the government. There was a board of trustees. Now, but because of this meltdown, the money got burnt remaining about 42%. That's what I met here. But still then, we were able to manage 2016, 2017. By 2018, the money was finished. We could no longer pay scholarship allowances. We could not pay salaries. We could not pay, even upkeep for the offices. So we had to write to the government to tell the government that this is the situation. Now the government, in its wisdom, decided to change the law to scholarship board, going back to the former dispensation, former arrangement. Thank you. So that is the arrangement now we are having. Now, whatever scholarship allowance we want to pay students, we have to write to the government. The government will now look at it. But of course, it is a two-way payment. The state government and the local government, 34 local government. The state government will give 50%. The local government, 34 local government will give 50%, making 100%. So that is the situation now. That is what we are now. We are paying students based on the requirement we have. We go to the government, and the government gives us the money, and we dispense. We have digitalized the operations of the scholarship board. Hitherto, this time, we always carry bulk of money per student. In fact, before even then, to apply for scholarship, you have to obtain form. You have to come and buy form, or we have designated centers where we sell the forms. You buy the form, you complete. But we have now developed a software that you can just go online, purchase the form, complete it, send it to us, and we just come for interview. By the time you are completing the form, the software will not be downloading how much you are going to get as your allowance. Unlike the other time now where you have to complete the form, we go for interview, we come back, generate how much money, look at the time being wasted. So you find that we waste about 4 or 5 months before we even send the letter to. But now, immediately after the interview, we must have gotten the amount of money due for each student and the total money that we require. Then we just send the letter. Now, we have 3 centers. Now, we always take bulk of money going to these centers, Kaduna, Sokoto, Kano, to pay students. We don't do it now. We have, due to our software, operation, we can, no student collect money in his hand, nobody. We don't carry money to anywhere. In fact, this office, if you see cash flowing in the office, it is out of pocket expenses. To buy fuel, to buy papers for printing and so on. You don't see anything to fly. This is our high point. We are able to digitalize this office, trying to make it a paperless office. You don't see paper going around here. Before each session, at the end of each session, you find a whole lot of forms, filled with this office, but you don't find them now. You don't see them. We have gone, digital. When we came on board, we inherited students abroad. As a matter of fact, Katsina State Scholarship Board under Masadi administration has not, sponsored any student outside. But we met students in Sudan, Africa, Garden City, Afad, and Jordan. And of course, here in Maradi, we had about 50 students reading French. They have already graduated. There are some of the certificates are with me. Some of them are coming to collect their certificate. By By March this year, the honorable special advisor to the governor on higher education and myself were in Jordan and Sudan to write a concluding note, for those students that have been sent by the Shema administration. Of course, there are a lot of funds being sunk by the Masari administration. What the Shema administration did was to carry the bulk of the money and deposit it into the school. They deposited the whole lot of the money for the whole students for the whole duration of their courses in the school. We don't do that in scholarship. Scholarship, if you are giving somebody scholarship, by the time he completes one session, brings in his transcript, you now pay for. But you don't pay for the. So there was a lot of mismanagement of the fund. Some of the students ran away from the school because they could not cope up. A lot of things like that. So there was a lot of missing money. So Masari had to give money on 2 or 3 occasions, I think, for these students to make up for their, courses. Alhamdulillah, many of them have returned, but there are still some, about 22, I think, in Sudan, some 10 or 15 in Jordan, who, for me, they are not serious. Because I cannot see how somebody will be sent to school. Your colleagues have graduated for in the last 2-3 years, but you are still in 300 level, and you are reading medicine. You see? So this is the extent to which we have gone. Now, when we came back from the Sudan last this past March, we made a recommendation to the governor that there is a need for his administration at least to send 1 student each abroad to study medicine or any medical related course, making about 34 students. He gave us that approval. He said we should go ahead. Now, the selection procedure is underway. We are going to send 34 students. Now, before we came back, there is a school known as Nada College in Sudan. It gave the Katsina state government, because of the goodwill from the state government, gave 20 students free scholarship, full scholarship, at least tuition free. So, for that 34, the governor has approved, and by the grace of God, before the end of this year, they will jet out to Sudan for their DC course.
With over 57,000 students being catered for by the Katsina State Scholarship Board in indigenous institutions alone, it is clear to see that the Masari administration is willing to spare no expense in making sure the academic pursuits of Katsina students are well and truly supported by the state government. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, Inside Katsina continues. Stay with us. Welcome back to Inside Katsina on Trust TV. Now, we're still in conversation with Isa Ahmed, the Director General, Katsina State Scholarship Board, and he's given us insights as to the inner workings of the board and the support it lends to an increasing number of students of Katsina State origin and how impactful these efforts have been.
When you consider, the way students come, the agility, the zeal to which they come and obtain scholarship, I mean, that is an indication that people are willing, to go to school. If you go to FCE, for instance, you find students from the remotest part of Katsina. Sometimes I've been wondering, you find them how they dress. The moment when you look at them, they are from the rural part of the rural areas. The way they dress, the way they are shooting, but still they go to school. They come and collect scholarship, to enable them to read. I mean, it is an indication. Education is, becoming something that everybody is looking for nowadays. Only thing we can say to this man is he has done a wonderful job. There was never a time we sent a memo to him and he rejects. He has never done that. And by the grace of God, we have been complimenting his efforts. Let me tell you one thing. This office under my tutelage, we returned to the governor over 250 million naira in cash. In excess. It has never been done in the history of Katsina State government. Over 250 million naira excess. What actually happened was, now before then, Governor Masari has never rejected our request. Whenever we send our request, he accepts it with dispatch. He has accepted it with dispatch. The only thing is the bureaucratic procedure that take time, the bottlenecks, the red tapes, in the line of administration, that wastes time. You have to write letter to the SA Higher Education. He will write memo to the governor. The governor will now approve. The governor will, from the governor's office, they will now send approval to the budget. Budget will now have to send the release. The release will have to go to the Ministry of Finance. The Ministry of So it is a very long time. And we're not looking for small money. We're looking for 250 million, 350 million. So you can see that. But even that, we're able to meet our obligations with the students. By 2020, during the COVID 2020, we had a delay because of the strike of ASU. The operation of scholarship board is when the students are in school. It is only when the students are in school. So they are not in school for over 8 months. There was long back, there was this COVID, there was strike, so it compounded the issue. So some students, or many of the students, graduated. So for 1 year, we have not made payment because the students were not at home. We have to go and make verification before we make the payment. So they graduated. So they didn't come for the money. So there was excess of over 150 million. We wrote to the governor. We told him, this is the money. This is what we are able to pay. This is the number of students that have not been paid. These are the number of students that have been paid. And this is excess. Now we want you to approve this 150 million to us for the next payment. That is saving. We are turning that money back to him. Otherwise, he would have paid that money again. He was so happy. This current payment this year, we had excess of about 80 million naira. Now we have students reading law. Now these students are 2021 academic session. So their counterparts at the local school, local courses, we are now on the verge of, interviewing them. Some of the students are not even in the school, the universities. So we have to go to the university to interview. But the law students are already in the law school. All right? There are about 70 of them. Each one of them is 500,000. The scholarship will pay him. 500,000 each of them. Two law school students. These are in the whole country. These are So I told him that we have about 80 million in our hand. Now I want you to give us approval to pay these students, which otherwise they would have to wait until we finish these students that are, that are not even in school because of the strike. We have to go and interview them, then we send the request. It will take about how many? We don't even know when they are resuming. Okay? Now, because of this money we have, he agreed. He said, Issa, go ahead, pay them. We are still giving them their, over 80 million. So if you add that money and this one, and the little money, we always refer back to him, and he will tell us to go ahead and use it in the office. We returned over 250 million naira in cash. When we were making the presentation at the board meeting, one of the permanent secretary was just laughing. He was just so astounded. How could this happen? He has never had, permanent secretary say he has never had this type of thing. Returning money to the government, 250 million. But of course, that is the promise we made to him. And that's what is obtained in scholarship now. We beat our chest and say, come and see.
Then nobody will know there's money.
But it has been happening. It has been happening. They call it on claim. Students who do not come to collect it is on claim. It's just like salary now. They pay you salary for the next 3 months, you didn't come to collect it, it has gone. We beat our chest. Look at me in my eyes and ask me, I'll look at you and tell you, this is what happened. This is a president who is set in this place. Look at this office. When I came to this office, it was started looking just like local government. But I say I cannot stay here. The first thing I did was transform this office to at least a congenial, environment for me to sit down and do my work. I look at it. If you are here, you wouldn't know that you are in scholarship as well.
Indeed, no society can truly claim to be fully or even partially developed without having a well-educated population. And the administration of Governor Aminu Bello Masari is leaving no stone unturned to ensure that students of Katsina State origin are given the necessary financial support needed in order to carry out their academic pursuits. And this has contributed immensely to the overall development of Katsina State. That's the much we can take on this episode of Inside Katsina on Trust TV. Join us again next time as we turn the searchlight on another sector being impacted positively by the restoration agenda of Governor Aminu Bello Masari. Until then, I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for joining us.